Good afternoon, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you so much for joining as we are about to discuss a very important topical matter. And this afternoon, we are going to look at the fact, or at the question. I shouldn't say at the fact, at the question, because let nobody say that I'm suggesting that this is a fact, because it is not a fact. I'm posing a question. Is Holness, that's Andrew Holness, secretly planning a snap election? Is Dr. Andrew Holness quietly setting the stage for a snap election in Jamaica? We know that the election is scheduled constitutionally for September, but Dr. Andrew Holness has not yet spoken. He remains silent on the matter. So does it mean that Jamaica's next election could be sooner than you think? That's very important that we analyze and that we look at these very important matters. Is Dr. Andrew Holness quietly preparing Jamaica for a snap election? In this video, we break down the latest political moves and that hint Holness may call an early election to catch the opposition off guard. From unexpected government activity in PNP's internal struggles, we reveal why Jamaicans should be ready for a possible election sooner than expected. What does this mean for the future of Jamaica? Will the JLP capitalize on PNP's weakness? How can voters prepare for this political surprise? Watch and make sure that you like and you share and you leave a thoughtful comment. Very important that you do that. Now, what if I told you that Dr. Andrew Holness is quietly setting the stage for a snap election? You might not have heard this anywhere else yet, have you? But the signs are all there. From sudden government activity to the PNP struggling behind the scenes, the pieces are falling into place. In this video, we'll break down exactly why a surprise election could be just around the corner and what it means for you, the Jamaican voter. Stay tuned. Now, why am I suggesting that there might be a snap election? Why would you think at this juncture of our history that the Prime Minister might be forced to call a snap election? Now, we are seeing a lot of things unfolding in the political environment in Jamaica as we speak, and things are warming up. And we know that the rhetoric is also gaining a lot of momentum and the fever is there. Now, one of the things that I would say that it's possible that Andrew Holness might call a snap election, I would say number one, Holness's recent moves hint at election planning. He's suddenly more visible, touring, speaking, promoting accomplishments. So you can see him every day on the campaign trail, and he is connecting with his electorate, with his followers, and he is gaining more sympathy as he traverses the island. Increased PR campaigns we can see on TV, we can see on social media, especially around JLP programs. We can see that there is an increased presence of the JLP propaganda, on social media, on all social media. Government ministers are avoiding controversy and staying on message. Andrew Holness has an uncanny ability to deflect away from controversial issues and to focus on what he thinks he's doing and what he thinks is in Jamaica's best interest, whether or not it is, but that is what he thinks, right? So we can knock him for that. It looks like the GLP is soft launching a re-election narrative, and they are doing that. They're telling us that things are rosy and that they are the best government since sliced bread. And a lot of people in Jamaica have bought into that philosophy, that we have been modernized, as it were, under the Jamaican Labour Party. And you can't knock them for that. That's their perspective, right? And that is what we would like to see, different perspectives. Now, Is it the truth? That's another question. Now, we have to number two, the care packages before chaos. So we have new social support initiatives, school buses, housing promises, small business grants are classic pre-election tactics. And we can see where the school buses are rolling out, and we see Action and we see the likes of Darrell Vaz and other GLP leaders are there every day, and they are showing us great optics at taking the school buses and telling us that our kids are going to be safe while being transported on these buses. Okay, so these are great ways of transitioning into a re-election, into the election mode. The use of state resources for political mileage suggests early campaign buildup. And we can see that that's very, very clear. And we can see in the school buses, in the small business grants, in the, the gifting of houses. These are evidences which suggest that Andrew Holness is using, of course, state resources for political mileage. And you really wonder what was happening during the 10 years. I see Action and all of these people, including the Attorney General, what's her name again? The Malahoo Fort, Marlene Malahoo Fort. She's also out there saying that she's carpeting the roads. They're using the word that they're paving the roads, and they're saying they're carpeting, they're putting carpet on the roads, right? And it seems to be that it's a great thing that they're doing that no other politician has ever done in the history of Jamaica. That is what the likes of the Marlene Malahoo Forts, they're suggesting, that these things have never occurred in Jamaica, and they are doing a fabulous, fantastic job. That is what Malahoo Fort and her colleagues are suggesting. And you see them with their cameras, and they're telling us that they're carpeting the roads, right? And they are building a new Jamaica for the prospective Jamaican voters who will vote for the PNP. Now we have a third. The PNP is disorganized, and this is something that I think the GLP is seeking to exploit. The PNP is in disarray. Whether we like it or not, the PNP is in disarray. And I'm wondering if Andrew Holness is waiting for them to even get more chaotic, perhaps for them to challenge Mark Coding and his lack of visible leadership. Is he waiting for something to happen, a big moment to transpire in the PNP, which will give the public perception that the PNP is unfit for public office? We don't know, but I'm just posing these questions to you, my viewers and listeners. You know that this is a thinking channel, and that is what we're here. Make sure you like and you share and you subscribe. Like the videos. Please put a like while you are watching the video, and please watch to the end so the algorithm will interpret that you are not a bot, you are a real person, and they will push the videos along to more people. The more you watch, the longer you watch. If you're just a dead subscriber, then it's not going to work for the channel. So subscribe if you are going to interact with the channel on a consistent basis, please. The PNP fighting defections like Lawrence Rowe and lack of momentum. So we see where Lawrence Rowe has switched over to the GLP from the PNP, and this could also, in the public's perception, he's saying a lot of things, he's unpacking a lot of weaknesses in the PNP. We have to be careful of what is happening. Golding's racial controversy may have weakened the PNP's image, and that is true, whether we like it or not. It's not that it is his fault, because it is who he is, and nobody can change the color of their skin. But, I have also been receiving some comments on my videos about, oh, it was Peter, what's his name? PJ Patterson, who launched a racial attack on Edward Seago. Now, my response to one of my listeners is that two wrongs don't make a right. Two wrongs do not make a right. And another substantive point that I raised with that particular subscriber and viewer is that when these things happen, the ordinary man is the one who has to suffer the consequences, the negative consequences of those sort of attacks. PJ doesn't suffer. Edward Circle didn't suffer. Well, he suffered in the fact that he did not win another election since, he won the election in 1980 and 1983. He never won. In that sense, yes. But in terms of his being able to live and move on, he moved on. And he was helped by understanding by the private sector when he couldn't find any money and he wasn't as wealthy because he had plowed a lot of his money into electioneering and politicking. So he left the position, the office of leadership of the opposition, a practically broke person. And he got a job at the University of the West Indies as a research fellow. So these guys are connected and they're able to move on, even though they suffer from bruises, from political bruises, perhaps from mental bruises, but they're able to move on much more quickly than you are able to move on. I told you also that Michael Manley's previous wife, who is Beverly Anderson Manley, okay, that she said that Michael Manley was very disturbed when he lost the election in 1980, that his class had forsaken him because he was from the upper middle class crust of the society, and they had forsaken him. And he went back, having lost the election, to sort of cement his connection with them after he lost the election. And they became friends again. And he was able to do the bidding of what they wanted him to do when he came back in office or to office in 1989. Okay, so we cannot sit down and think that these people are going to be impacted. Yes, they're impacted, but not in the same way that the populace will be impacted because you don't have a second alternative. Michael Manley was able, during the time when he had lost the election, to go to the US and he had tours and he had his speeches where he was paid. Right? So when he lost things, I'm sure he lost his marriage to Beverly Anderson Manley. And I'm sure that he was paid emotionally and in other ways. However, he was able to move on. Our people are not, they don't have the alternative and sometimes don't have the option of moving on. They have to move on if they're living, but it's not going to be a pretty transition. Okay, and that is what you have to understand. So let us not fall for the distractions of the political cards that they're playing, because at the end of the day, Jamaica is the country that is going to be left backward, socially, politically, economically backward, while they will move on. Whatever scars they might have accrued, that they might have, that might have happened to them, they will ultimately move on, but you won't have that particular option. Holness may strike now before the opposition can fully regroup. And I think he's going to strike before the opposition can fully regroup. I think he is going to strike before the opposition can fully regroup. And that's why I'm saying he's waiting patiently to see if there will be other holes. And it could be that the GLP is planning other holes for the PNP. Are they going to drop, for example, a key part of the FinSAC report that would have incriminated the PNP or that will incriminate the PNP so that it will weaken their perception of voting for them, weaken the public perception of seeing the PNP as a viable option to govern Jamaica? These are some of the questions that we have to ask and we need to think about. Again, we are the Thinking Channel. Make sure that you are liking and you are subscribing to the channel so that you can be able to receive critical analyses, because that is where we're heading at the moment. Now, number 3, the PNP is organized. Holness smells opportunity, right? So we can see, and well, I think I went through it already. Number 4, the fourth reason for which we think that Holness might call a snap election or is waiting to call a snap election is that the voter apathy plus low turnout benefits JLP. He also remembers that the local government election, to some extent, he won, that the JLP won, but not by a huge margin. Remember now that they did not win by a huge margin in the local government elections, which were held last year. So I think that Holness still has that in remembrance, and he's making sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed, because the voter apathy will impact, of course, both political parties, and you cannot make any mistake when you have just a fewer when you have fewer numbers of the populace voting. You can't afford to make any mistakes, can you? If Holness calls an election quickly, young or frustrated voters may stay home, right? So that is the whole thing. If he calls an election, young or frustrated voters may stay home. GLP base is more loyal and easier to mobilize quickly. And a low turnout snap election, easier win for Holness. Now, I think Holness is also carrying out his internal surveys and polls, and perhaps those polls that are informing him, he hasn't gotten the green light to call the election. Maybe he's not seeing where he has, amassed enough voters to be able to win in the solid way in which he would like to win the upcoming election. So these are things that we have to think about. Now, another factor for which Andrew Holness might be the fifth factor, the fifth reason why he might be tempted or convinced to call a snap election is the international praise that sets the stage. So IMF and the World Bank praising Jamaica's economy. Look how we've performed under my leadership. That is what Andrew Holness is saying. He's saying that the debt to GDP ratio has been significantly reduced. Crime is on the low. All of these accomplishments are under the GLP. Tourism is up, right? Is on the uptick. We have many tourists going to Jamaica, and we think that tourism is the engine of economic growth. That is what Jamaicans thinking of. That tourism is the engine, or one of the engines of robust economic growth. And yet we have been just barely having 1% economic growth per year, per annum, since Andrew Holness has come into office, right? Something very interesting. But these are the 5 points that I would like you to bear in mind why I think that Andrew Holness might call a snap election. 1, a recap, Holness's recent moves hint at election planning. Number 2, the care packages before chaos, right? So he's actually giving out lots of money and lots of assets, including houses, small business grants, etc., etc. And of course, he's using state resources for political mileage. But they all do that. He's not the only guilty one. That is what they do so that they can win the election. Number 3, PNP is highly disorganized and Holness smells opportunity. We see where a lot of, Mark Golding is not showing himself to be a leader. People are questioning his Jamaicanness, even though he is authentically a Jamaican, but people are questioning that. That is public perception. I don't form public perception, ladies and gentlemen, so don't come and now tell me that, why are you saying that he's not Jamaican? He is Jamaican. And some of you come and attack me, oh, why are you telling that he's not Jamaican? I have already said, I've always defended Golding's national identity. I've always defending his racial ethnic identity. He is who he is. You can't change. The leopard cannot change its spot. You are born with the hue, your complexion, and that you will carry to your grave. Well, some of you are synthetically changing yourselves, you're bleaching yourselves and stuff like that. But for those of us who are not interested in bleaching ourselves, we are going to bring or carry our skin hue or skin complexion to the grave. Understood? Hope that you have understood my point. But that is what many Jamaicans see him as. The public perception. He's a white man, and that he is a representative of the massa class. Okay, that is what they see him as. Now, the voter apathy, Andrew Holness must be concerned about that, because that is on both sides of the political aisle. However, because he is the incumbent government, he has to be more concerned about that, because he does not want to lose. Okay, and he's spending lots of money for political mileage. So having invested all of your time and effort and energy and state resources into having people vote for you, why would you want to lose the election? Okay, their main quest, their main purpose is to win the election. And that is what you have to understand. And you're helping them to do that. You're not helping them to win so that Jamaica can win and that you and your children can win in the ultimate analysis. You are helping them to win, to build their ego, and also to build the pockets of the financial elites, aren't you? But you love to do that, and they love when you do that because they see you as controllable creatures. Now, we have the fifth and final reason why Andrew Holness seems to be planning to call a snap election is the International Monetary Fund, and all the international agencies are praising Dr. Andrew Holness for his stewardship over the Jamaican economy, the fact that our debt has gone down, crime has reduced dramatically, and the list of positives go on ad nauseum. And we hear the same things over and over again, and people seem to be tired of hearing the same old, right? Lofty promises and empty fulfillment. But that is what we have, and I think that I should have brought this to your attention. What do you think as intelligent ruminators? What do you think? Do you really think that Dr. Andrew Holness is going to call a snap election? And what are the consequences for Jamaica if he does that, if he makes that sort of move? Do you think that it is going to affect the way how the country is run? Do you think Andrew Holness will lose? Is Andrew Holness timing the election before voters are ready, or just trying to scare the PNP? What do you think? I would like you to leave your comments in the comment section. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you'd like, share, and subscribe. Like the video so the videos can be shared with as many people on the platform. And for those of you who'd like to leave a monetary donation, please, you can go to my PayPal account at Andy_Tucker_450 at hotmail.com. Andy, ANDE_Tucker_450 at hotmail.com. Thank you so much and see you in another video. Ciao.